It is Sunday again. As you can tell, clearly I'm not at home, but we had a death in the family to go on top of everything else that I was doing this week. But what I really want to talk about today is the Zimmerman trial, because that is everything that's been plaguing at the very least Facebook, and if not the rest of the entire news medium, whatever it is that you watch to get your news for the last about 24 hours. We'll get to the actual issues in a minute, but first we need to understand a little bit about what courts do. Trial courts are the ones that resolve issues at the lowest level of the court system. So generally you take something up to maybe like the Court of Common Pleas. That's where this case would have been. And in this case, it's the state versus an individual party being charged with a crime because it was clearly a criminal matter. Murder generally, and I'm not sure of the exact Florida statute, but I'll look it up and put it down in description so you can take a look at it. Generally, the description of murder is to be an unlawful killing with malice aforethought. So that means it's premeditated. Murder is always premeditated. You hear this premeditated murder? No, that's crap. Murder is usually always premeditated. If the prosecution can't prove that there was any sort of purposeful killing, meaning purposeful, of course, meaning this is defined by the Model Penal Code in the United States, so it isn't law, but it's what scholars think the law should be, that the offender knew of the result and had intent to achieve that result. That's a pretty high standard to set, and I really don't think the prosecution did a good job of coming after it in the Zimmerman trial. This is also to say that, of course, the defense didn't necessarily do a better job. The prosecution just didn't do theirs. They weren't able to create that presumption, so they overcharged him with murder. They could have gotten away with maybe charging him with voluntary manslaughter, negligent homicide, and they would have got a conviction. George Zimmerman would be in jail, but they didn't. So now here's the thing that gets me going is when people say, well, this case really sets a dangerous precedent. No, it doesn't! Trial courts do not set precedent. Only appellate courts and courts of last resort can set precedent because trial court opinions are rarely reported, and they don't set anything because it's the lowest level. It can be overruled by anybody above them. It could be overruled by the Court of Appeals. It could be overruled by the state Supreme Court. It could be overruled by the U.S. Supreme Court. It can be overruled. The case isn't over yet. There's too many avenues for the prosecution to seek to make this still contentious. And the other thing we need to be able to understand is that in a trial court situation, a different jury, looking at the exact same facts with a different judge, with a different defendant, with a different prosecuting attorney, with different witnesses, could see the exact same fact pattern, have a different instruction on the law by a judge, because judges instruct juries on what the law is, what they should include in their analysis and deliberation, and what they shouldn't include, and come back with a completely different result. That's another thing that we really need to maybe just possibly re-examine, is how our judges are instructing juries. Because trial by jury of our peers is something that is innate. It is a constitutional right in the United States of America. But what we cannot overlook is that the juries have the information necessary to make these life-changing decisions for a defendant. So in that case, no, this doesn't set precedent. Now, am I upset that this guy got off free? Yeah. It seems to me that he killed somebody and they could have made a lesser charge stick, but they didn't do it. They let him go because they overcharged him and couldn't prove the requisite mental state needed to put this guy in prison. Now, complete rants and giant squids of anger aside, I really don't think this is over because not guilty doesn't mean innocent. Sure, it means innocent until proven guilty is a presumption that we've made in this country since the beginning. But not guilty doesn't necessarily mean innocent. All not guilty means is just that. Not guilty. There could be ways for this to go. I think the state's going to appeal. I think we're going to see a completely different outlook on this. It could be that the prosecution finds something in the jury instructions that they didn't like, and they might ask the Florida Court of Appeals to look at the case again. We'll see what happens. But with that, I'll see you guys next week from my new house. So that'll be fun.